Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. Today, DUOTTS has sent us one of their electric bike models to test, and that's what we're going to do in this video. They sent us the DUOTTS C29, a very complete bike with a large size that I don't know if you remember. Recently, we tested another bike, a DUO, which was much smaller and designed for the city. This one is completely different, an electric bike made for the countryside and mountains. You'll see later that we're going to have features like suspension, size, and height, all designed for spending many kilometers on the bike. So let's get to know it in depth. Let's start with the more technical details, dimensions, weight, and so on. About the bike, we have a bike that weighs 26.5 kilos. Of course, a big part of the reason is this battery we have here, a battery that, as you'll see later, is quite large. So the truth is that we really balance out the weight of this bike. It's true that even though it's quite heavy, since it's also very big, it's easy to grab and lift. And honestly, it doesn't feel heavy at all, but it's true that it's not entirely comfortable if you try to put it in a car every day or things like that. It's a bike. Well, like I said, it's pretty heavy. Then, regarding the dimensions, we have 29-inch wheels, a length of 179 centimeters, about 1.80 meters basically, and it's a bike that can support weights of up to 120 kilograms for a person who wants to ride it. Then, the recommended height would be around 1.70 to 2 meters, so, well, I'm 1.80 meters tall. Honestly, it's a bike that fits me perfectly. As for the seat height, we have a seat that can go as low as 85 centimeters from the ground and as high as 110 centimeters, or 1.10 meters is the maximum height you can raise the seat. Then, something I found quite interesting is that the seat is completely marked on its back side, so that if we share the bike with other people, family, friends, or whoever, we always have a reference point for the seat height. In the same way, one thing you need to know is that the bike comes completely disassembled. You have to assemble it yourself. The frame comes in one piece, but for example, the handlebar comes turned, and everything that is the bar with the handlebars and the shifters comes completely disassembled. We also have to put the wheels on ourselves, and this part on the back for carrying a backpack or a suitcase with some bungee cords, for example. We also have to install ourselves. I didn't put the fenders on afterwards, but you also have to set that up yourself. Even the front light, which as you can see, goes with the wheel that would be placed in this position. And besides being a light, it also works as a horn for us. In short, it's not difficult at all. We get an instruction manual, but just in case you have any trouble, I'll leave a link below in the description so you can watch a video on how to assemble it. But I'm telling you, it's very simple. It comes with an instruction manual, and there are really only a few steps you need to follow. The bike comes very well equipped, and of course, it has everything essential for us to ride it. We're going to have a pump to inflate the tires included in the package, which is a detail that's really appreciated. And then, since it's electric, we're gonna have a USB charger for our mobile device here on the handlebar. It comes with a USB-A port, which we have right here. Well, honestly, I would have preferred it to be USB-C, something more modern for the cables we use nowadays. But, well, USB-A isn't bad at all, so what? We can also equip it further. We can add a phone holder to the handlebar. This way, if we're going to do, for example, routes, we could load them into Wikiloc or some typical route app and have the phone charging here. But let's talk a bit more about the electrical part, which is also important. As I was saying, we have a battery in this central part of the chassis, which is removable. I mean, we can take it out at any time and take it with us. For example, if we leave the bike parked on the street and want to take the battery up to an office or our house to charge it, we just insert the key in this part back here that I'm showing you, unlock it, and then we can pull it out upwards. Then, the battery has a battery indicator, but anyway, we also have one once we turn it on. A small control, a display on the handlebar where we can see the battery percentage in 5 bars. The speed we're going, the kilometers, odometer, voltage, and so on. Also, this bike can be connected to your phone. I'll show you the app, but well, it's pretty simple. The app doesn't have many features. After all, what we can do is basically see the bike's data, track routes, and a few other basic things. The battery is a 48-volt, 25-amp-hour battery, or in other words, it has a capacity of 740 watt-hours. But anyway, these are just technical details. As for how much range this battery will give us, it's between 80 and 120 kilometers depending on how we use it. Of course, if we use very little assistance, we'll use less battery, and if we set it to the maximum, we'll get around 80 kilometers of range. Let me also tell you that although in Europe it's limited to 25 kilometers per hour, and only when we're pedaling, we have a connector here where we can change the right grip and add a twist throttle just like on a motorcycle. I haven't installed it because, as you know, this is illegal in Spain, but just so you know, we have the option to do it. The motor is on the rear wheel. We also have another bike with a motor on the front wheel, but in this case, it's only on the rear. And it would be 750 watts, but the top speed is limited to 250 as the law says. This is to keep it at 25 kilometers per hour. And then, as a fun fact, we have 65 Newton meters of torque, which is actually really good. As soon as we start pedaling, it gives a good push, and honestly, you move forward really fast. If I had to mention a downside of this electric part, it's that I haven't really managed to get the hang of it. The trick is for it to be instant, meaning that as soon as we start pedaling, it starts pedaling with us, and we don't have to put in any effort at all. And then there's another thing, which is that when we stop pedaling, the bike keeps pushing for at least another second. This is something that, in theory, can be adjusted through the screen, but I haven't really managed to fine-tune it much either. After all, I've managed to get used to the bike pushing a little bit more when I stop pedaling, but well, in the end, I make up for it a bit. Also, just by touching the brake, as soon as we touch the brake, the electric motor disconnects completely. I haven't mentioned it to you, but the bike comes with a disc brake system, both front and rear. It's a conventional disc brake. It's true that we also have the option to equip it with a hydraulic system if you feel like you need more braking power, and some other things like, for example, a dual battery so you can always have a spare when one runs out, put in another one, or simply always have one charged. As well as a suitcase so it can be equipped on this rear part. On the other hand, the suspension of this bike is adjustable. The truth is that it comes very soft from the factory, so much so that the other day when I jumped a curb, I bottomed out the suspension. So, well, maybe you'll have to make it a little stiffer, but honestly, I've left it pretty soft because I've been riding a lot on trails to really test it out, and that way it's much more comfortable. Then, at any moment, if you want to ride on the road and need all the energy you're putting into pedaling to go to the wheels and not the suspension, you can simply lock the suspension from the right bar. As for the gear shifting, we have a Shimano shifter that honestly works very well. It's one of those typical ones where you can shift the cogs up or down directly with some levers, so to speak. And then the chain rings are adjusted in a slightly more manual way, but honestly, it's very comfortable. I always leave it on the middle chain ring, then I adjust the cogs, and that works pretty well for me. The gear shift works perfectly and shifts very smoothly, so no complaints. And finally, we have a kickstand on the left side that keeps the bike stable when we park it, you know, when we get off and want to leave it standing somewhere. Very positive things about this bike. The front light. The front light is incredibly bright. I've ridden through the woods at night with absolutely no other light, and it lights up the path really well. Honestly, it's very comfortable to ride. Also, the rear light is quite visible, and when we brake, it flashes and lights up more brightly, so that people coming from behind or when we're on the road, other drivers can notice that we're braking. Tires. It comes with knobby tires designed for off-road use, and honestly, they grip really well and provide good safety. I haven't felt like they wear out too quickly. Honestly, I've really liked them. Also, as I mentioned, the seat is very comfortable. It's really soft, has a pretty ergonomic shape, and I've really liked it. I've done 25-kilometer rides, and I'm not used to riding bikes at all, but it was comfortable and I didn't end up tired. For example, regarding the seat, now how is the ride? Well, honestly, it's very comfortable, like I said, especially if you use the assist. We switch between modes from 1 to 5 to get the maximum speed. The bike assists us at all times. We go at 25 kilometers per hour, so we hardly get tired at all. If we want to exercise, we just lower the assist and stay below the set speeds, which, if I'm not mistaken, are around 8 kilometers, 15, 18, 21, and 25. Well, when we go outside those modes, it's up to us to pedal just like a completely normal bike. Then I went through some rough terrain, downhills like that, through mountains that have really deep grooves. And honestly, it performed really well. The suspension absorbs everything perfectly, and the wheels too, they grip really well. Honestly, I felt comfortable riding with others who seem to struggle more with different bikes. Honestly, riding this bike is very comfortable and you don't feel the weight at all, even in more challenging situations in the mountains. Finally, I just want to mention its price. 770 euros for this DUOTTS C29, a bike that I would especially highlight for its comfort, of course, being electric, and also its sturdiness. The sturdiness. I think it's well built with quality materials and finishes, though there are a few drawbacks. For example, I had to adjust the front disc a little so it wouldn't make noise, and I had to do the same with the rear axle. On the first day, I needed to add a little lubricant due to some squeaking, but otherwise, any issues might have been my own mistakes during assembly. Honestly, it's a 10 out of 10 bike. It's very comfortable to ride, has great range, good power, and overall, it's a very well balanced bike. But I also want to know in the comments what you think. If you liked it, leave a like, and with that said, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.